Well, you're welcome. Data released recently shows that Senegal's economy grew 1.9% last year, making it one of sub-Saharan Africa's best performers in 2020. But will the country continue to outperform this year, given recent violent protests? Well, Matt Kindiga, an associate practice lead for sub-Saharan Africa at Frontierview, joins us now for more. Hello, Matt. Good afternoon.
Hello, good afternoon. Thank you for having me on the show today.
Yeah, you're welcome. Well, following years of strong growth and a mild downturn in 2020, how is the economy expected to perform over the coming years?
Yes, so it's really worth emphasizing how well the economy in Senegal did do by global standards. So it grew by nearly 2% in 2020. And it's worth noting that it didn't contract during any of the quarters last year. And there was a notable pickup in Q4 last year. So that really does bode very well for the growth outlook. We are expecting growth to rise to about 4.5 to 5% in 2021. And this will really be helped by a recovery in consumer spending and especially exports. So exports were hammered last year by the global recession, but we are expecting a recovery in global demand for Senegal's exports to really drive economic growth. And there are also major investments taking place into infrastructure projects, especially public-private partnerships into energy, transport infrastructure. So certainly a very broad-based set of growth drivers for Senegal next year.
But which sectors are performing and how are they emerging? Are they emerging opportunities that business could monitor and maybe tap into?
Yes, so for sure. So despite COVID-19, we are expecting consumer spending to perform relatively well this year. This is because of healthy economic growth and also relatively loose coronavirus commercial restrictions and also low inflation. Construction is really an industry that will perform quite well in our view for 2021. So transport projects, railway infrastructure, port projects are likely to continue or ramp up this year. And we are expecting manufacturing as well, mining, and agriculture all to perform quite well. So these are the real industries that we expect to see opportunities emerge for businesses. One of the sectors I would say probably won't perform as well as the other sectors of the economy is hospitality, especially tourism-related hospitality. And this is mainly because global tourism travel remains quite depressed and long-haul international tourism travel will probably struggle to recover in 2021, probably more so in 2022.
But we can't forget the protests that took place in March. I mean, how does this play into this? And what does it tell us about Senegal's social stability? Does this unrest threaten these figures that the forecast that you have already set?
Yeah, so it's a really good question to ask around, what does the violent protest that we saw in March mean for the country's outlook? We have to look at the triggers for this unrest and the violence that we saw last month. There are two major triggers in our view. One is around alleged crackdowns on the opposition in Senegal by the government, and the other is around general dissatisfaction with standards of living and job creation in the country. In the short term, neither of these things are likely to improve. We do see political tensions continuing to play a part in Senegal's landscape over the next couple of years. But fundamentally, we don't expect the social unrest and the protests, if they are to reoccur over the next few years, we don't expect them to derail the growth outlook. And this is because many of the growth drivers that Senegal's economy will benefit from are only indirectly affected by social unrest. So infrastructure investment, manufacturing, agriculture, they won't be directly affected by social tensions in the country. So very broadly, we don't see a downward scenario for Senegal materializing. We would say in the short term, however, the biggest risk to the growth outlook would be tighter commercial restrictions if there is a surge in coronavirus cases over the coming months.
Thank you so much for telling us and sharing your opinion today. Well, we now move